I picked up an extra shift to afford my son's school trip, then came home to surprise my wife with takeout and flowers. I walked into the bedroom and froze. She was in lingerie I didn't buy, whispering, "Don't stop," to a man who wasn't me. They didn't even notice me standing there. I set the food on the nightstand, took a picture, and walked out. 2 weeks later, that photo was projected at our son's PTA fundraiser, right before she took the stage to speak on family values. I've always believed in keeping your head down, working hard, and doing right by your family. My name's Mike. I live in Reading, Pennsylvania. I'm 42, work full-time in a steel fabrication shop. It's not glamorous. It's not easy. But it pays the bills, and I'm proud of it. I married Rachel when I was 27. We met at a friend's birthday party at a bowling alley, of all places. She wore this red hoodie with holes in the sleeves, and I thought she was the prettiest girl I'd ever seen. She was sharp, funny, always had something smart to say. We dated 2 years before getting married. Bought a small 3-bedroom house just north of downtown. It wasn't much, but it was ours. We had our son Caleb, 5 years later. I remember holding him for the first time and thinking, this is it. This is my real job now. Everything else took a back seat. Rachel stayed home with him the first couple years, then went back to work part-time. A few years after that, she started consulting. That's how she described it. Business coaching, small clients. It was always vague. I didn't push. I figured if she was pulling in money and handling things with Caleb, then we were good. But over the last year, things started to shift. She'd spend long hours working in coffee shops or from hotel lobbies, said she needed quiet to focus. She started dressing different. Nicer clothes, more makeup. We weren't sleeping together as much, and when we did, it felt mechanical. Like I was part of a routine. She said she was tired. Always tired. One night I asked her straight up, "Are you happy?" She didn't answer right away. Then she said, "I'm just stressed." I should have known. A few months later, Caleb brought home a flyer for a school field trip to the Smithsonian Museum in D.C. He was excited out of his mind, something about volcanoes and dinosaur bones. The cost was a little over $200. Rachel thought it was too much. "We shouldn't be spending on extras right now," she said, flipping through a pile of mail. I didn't argue. I just picked up a few extra shifts. Nights, mostly. It meant less sleep, but I didn't care. Seeing Caleb light up when I handed him that signed form, worth it. That Friday I worked a 10-hour shift. I got off early because a guy called out. So I thought, why not surprise her? Maybe we could have dinner, talk, try to reconnect. I picked up Thai from her favorite spot, Lotus Garden. She always orders red curry with tofu. I also grabbed a bouquet of sunflowers on the way out. It was dumb, I know. Grocery store flowers. But I thought it might make her smile. I parked in the driveway and noticed something strange right away. Her car was there, but the house was dead quiet. Normally she plays music while she's home. Jazz, mostly. That weird instrumental stuff that sounds like a band warming up. I figured she was napping. Or maybe out back on the phone. I unlocked the front door, stepped inside with the food bag and flowers in hand. And then I heard it. A voice. Her voice. Soft. Breathless. "Don't stop." It didn't register right away. I stood there, frozen, in the middle of the hallway. Then I moved. Slowly. Quietly. Like I was dreaming. I pushed open the bedroom door. And there she was. On all fours on the bed, wearing black lace lingerie I'd never seen before. Stuff she never wore for me. Her back arched, mouth open, her hair in a loose bun. She looked like a woman I didn't recognize. A man was behind her. Shirtless. Young. Maybe early 30s. Muscles, tattoo on his upper arm. Confident. Like he'd done this before. She whispered it again. "Don't stop." Either of them saw me. I stood there maybe 10 seconds. Long enough for my heart to tear down the middle. I walked in like a ghost. Set the food on the nightstand. Placed the flowers next to it. Pulled out my phone. Snapped one photo. Click. The sound broke her trance. She turned her head, eyes wide. Mike! He jumped off the bed like he'd seen a ghost. Covered himself with one of my t-shirts. I didn't say a word. I turned around, walked out, and drove off. That night I didn't go home. I slept at my brother Neil's. Told Caleb I was working a double. Rachel called. Texted. Even sent a video message crying. I didn't respond. She tried everything the next day. Apologies. Excuses? Said it just happened. Said it was a mistake. Said it meant nothing. But it meant something to me. It meant the woman I loved, the one I trusted with everything, had stabbed me in the heart and didn't even notice until she heard my camera click. I saw a lawyer that Monday. Filed for separation. Told him I wanted to split custody and sell the house. He asked me why. I showed him the photo. He looked at it, nodded, and didn't say a word. 2 weeks later was the school's PTA fundraiser. Rachel had volunteered months ago to co-chair it. She was giving a speech titled, Building Family Values in a Changing World. Ironic, right? I got there 20 minutes before her speech. She didn't know I'd be there. I walked up to the guy running the AV system, handed him a flash drive, and told him it was the opening image Rachel wanted to use. Said she forgot to bring it. He didn't question it. When her name was called, she stepped onto the stage. Smile on her face, clipboard in hand. The lights dimmed. The projector turned on. And there it was. The photo. Her. Him. That bed. That moment. Blown up for everyone to see. The whole school. Parents. Teachers. Board members. People gasped. A woman in the front row covered her mouth. Someone dropped their phone. Rachel stood frozen, the clipboard slipped from her hand and hit the floor. I stood in the back, watching. Not smiling. Not laughing. Just standing there. Then I walked out. She never finished that speech. She never stepped foot back into that school again. Word spread fast. Her consulting clients stopped returning her calls. She moved in with her sister. I still have full custody of Caleb most weeks. He doesn't know what happened. Just that Mom and Dad need time apart. I'll tell him one day, when he's old enough to know what betrayal really looks like. This isn't over. I'm not done. This is just the part where things get real. After the fundraiser, things went quiet for about a week. I didn't hear a word from Rachel. Not a call, not a text, not even through our lawyers. I figured she was too embarrassed to show her face anywhere, especially around the other school moms she used to gossip with during pickup. Then, out of nowhere, she showed up at my work. I was in the middle of welding a stair rail when Kenny, our floor manager, tapped me on the shoulder. Mike, there's a woman up front asking for you. Says it's urgent. I walked to the front office and saw her standing there, arms crossed, face pale, eyes bloodshot. She looked like she hadn't slept in days. What do you want? I asked, keeping my voice low. She looked around, like she didn't want anyone to overhear. Can we talk? Somewhere private? No. Say what you need to say. She swallowed hard. You destroyed me, Mike. I almost laughed. You destroyed yourself. I just showed people the truth. She stepped closer, her voice shaking now. My clients dropped me. The PTA won't even let me volunteer anymore. Everyone's talking behind my back. I can't even take Caleb to the park without someone whispering. I stared at her for a moment. Maybe next time you think about letting some guy rail you in your husband's bed, you'll remember this feeling. That hit her. She actually looked like she might cry. But I didn't care anymore. Not enough to save her from this. Not anymore. Then she said something that made my stomach twist. He's suing me. I blinked. Who? The guy, that day. His name's Brent. He's married. His wife found out because of the photo you showed. I shook my head. You're telling me the guy you cheated with is suing you because his wife found out he was cheating? Yes, she snapped. He said I never told him I was married. That he never would have come over if he'd known. She's filing for divorce and using the picture as evidence. I started to laugh. I couldn't help it. She didn't like that. It's not funny. His lawyer says I tricked him. That it's emotional manipulation. I shook my head again. You deserve every bit of it. Then she dropped another bomb. He said he's coming after you too. For public defamation. Because you showed that photo without permission. Now I stopped laughing. Let him come, I said. I'd love to explain to a judge how I walked into my own bedroom and found my wife cheating in my bed. And how I documented it. My name's on the mortgage. That house is mine just as much as hers. He can rot. She stormed off after that. Haven't seen her in person since. But that night, I started getting calls from a number I didn't know. At first I ignored them. Then I got a voicemail. It was Brent's wife. Her name's Melissa. She sounded calm, too calm. Hi Mike, I'm Brent's wife, soon to be ex-wife. I wanted to say thank you. That photo? It saved me from wasting another 10 years of my life. I've got 2 kids with him. I had no idea he was seeing anyone else, let alone someone married. You don't owe me anything, but if you ever want to talk, I'd like that. I called her back the next day. We talked for 3 hours. And that's when the story took another turn I didn't see coming. Melissa and I started talking more. At first it was just about what happened, how she found out, what her husband told her, how long she suspected but never had proof. She was raw like me. Angry, but also tired. She had 2 little girls, ages 7 and 4. Said Brent used to travel for work a lot. Now she knew better. What surprised me was how easy it felt talking to her. There was no pressure, no pretending. She didn't want anything from me, and I didn't want anything from her. It was like we were sitting in the same sinking boat, just trying to keep each other from going under. One night, maybe 3 weeks after that call, we met up at a diner halfway between Reading and her town, which was closer to Harrisburg. We sat in a corner booth for hours. She told me Brent was trying to shift blame, saying I ruined his life, and that she should forgive him because it was just sex. I remember her face when she said that. Cold. Flat. He thought I'd just take him back. That I'd pretend none of it happened for the kids' sake. But he didn't think about what that picture would do to me. How it would feel to see my husband balls deep in another woman. I didn't say anything. She took a breath and added, You want to know the worst part? Sure. He did the same thing to his last girlfriend. She reached out to me on Facebook after the photo went around. Told me he used to meet up with married women on business trips. Said it was his thing. Low risk, high thrill, he called it. I felt like I was going to be sick. Rachel wasn't just his affair. She was a target. This wasn't some heat-of-the-moment mistake. It was planned. Calculated. He hunted her like prey. Melissa leaned across the table. I want to bury him, Mike. Financially. Legally. Any way I can. I nodded slowly. You're not alone. And that's when we started working together. It wasn't just revenge anymore. It was justice. I dug through Rachel's emails, one she'd sent from our shared computer months ago. Found messages from Brent. Explicit ones. Him telling her how good she looked on Zoom. How he couldn't wait to sneak away again. They joked about me. Called me the dull one. Mr. Predictable. Melissa, meanwhile, found a burner phone Brent had hidden in the garage. Full of messages. Dozens of them. Not just to Rachel, but to other women. Some of them married. Some not. We gathered everything. Screenshots. Emails. Photos. We gave it all to Melissa's lawyer. Rachel had no idea. She thought the worst had passed. That the fundraiser was the bottom. She was wrong. One morning, about 6 weeks after the school incident, she called me in tears. Said someone from Brent's church had sent her a message. Told her she was being called out in a sermon. That people were talking about a serial homewrecker in their community. Then her sister kicked her out. Apparently Rachel had been lying to her too, told her I'd become controlling, said I'd doctored the photo. Once her sister saw the email threads, she told her to pack up and go. Rachel ended up moving into a motel on the edge of town. The kind where the curtains never fully close, and the ice machine is always broken. Caleb didn't know any of this. I kept it all from him. But he started to ask questions. Why wasn't Mom coming around as much? Why did she miss his science night? I gave him simple answers. Mom's figuring some things out. She's going through a tough time. And then one night, as I was tucking him in, he asked me something I didn't expect. Dad, did Mom do something bad? I paused. Why do you ask that? Because she cries a lot when I call. And I heard Aunt Sarah say she ruined her own life. I didn't know what to say. I just rubbed his back and told him. Mom made a mistake. A big one. But we're going to be okay. And we were. At least for a little while. Until Rachel tried to get custody back. Rachel filed for shared custody out of nowhere. After everything. After cheating. After lying. After disappearing for weeks and letting our son wonder why his mom barely called. She filed a motion asking for equal time with Caleb and claimed I was alienating her and damaging the child's emotional development. When I got the papers, I felt the heat rise in my chest. My hands started shaking so bad I had to sit down. The nerve she had. The pure, unbelievable nerve. My lawyer called me the next day. Mike, I've seen a lot, but this is bold. She's throwing everything at the wall and hoping something sticks. He warned me that if we went to court, it wouldn't just be about the cheating. Courts care about what's best for the kid. And that meant I needed to stay calm, focused, and smart. I agreed. But I also decided to be prepared. Melissa and I compiled everything, again. Not just the emails, but text messages where Rachel admitted to ignoring Caleb, where she said she wasn't cut out for full-time motherhood, where she called me dead weight and bragged about how easy it was to lie to my face. I also had character statements. My boss. My brother. Caleb's teacher. All said the same thing. I was the one raising him. I was the one steady in his life. Rachel, on the other hand, had Brent trying to testify on her behalf. Brent. The guy still being investigated for tax fraud after Melissa reported some shady consulting write-offs on his company taxes. The guy who sent Rachel $300 through Venmo with the message. For room 214. Court came fast. Rachel looked like a shadow of herself. Thin, tired, overdone makeup that didn't cover how hollow her eyes looked. She didn't even glance at me. When she took the stand, she cried. A lot. Said she lost herself, in a bad moment. Claimed I was emotionally distant. Said Caleb needed both parents equally. But when it was my lawyer's turn, he pulled up the photos. The messages. The time-stamped logs of her not picking up Caleb when she said she would. The screenshots of Brent calling Caleb, the kid, in texts, as if he was just a side note. Then he brought up Melissa. She testified calmly, clearly, and detailed. Talked about Brent's pattern of cheating. Showed proof that Rachel wasn't his first affair, and probably wouldn't be his last. She showed the court Rachel had knowingly slept with a married man and encouraged him to keep it going. The judge didn't need long. Final ruling. I got full physical custody. Rachel was allowed supervised visits. She broke down in the courtroom when the judge said the words. I didn't feel joy. I didn't smile. I felt relief. But it didn't stop there. Rachel's name got leaked online from the court filings. Her old clients saw it. People from the schools saw it. Her old job? They posted a public notice that she was no longer affiliated with them, in any professional capacity. She tried to sue Melissa and me for defamation. The judge dismissed it in minutes. Called it a weak attempt to shift blame. She lost everything. But I'll admit something I haven't told anyone. I lost something too. I lost the part of me that used to believe in people without question. I lost the quiet man who used to just work, come home, and trust that doing the right thing was enough. Now, I see things for what they are. I love my son more than life itself. I still take him to science nights. I still show up at every school event. But there's a piece of me that's colder now. Sharper. Harder. And sometimes, when Caleb's asleep, I sit at the table and look at that photo one more time. Not out of pain anymore. Not even anger. Just as a reminder. That trust is a gift. And some people never deserved it in the first place. As for Rachel? She's still in that motel, as far as I know. Alone. Exactly where her choices left her.